What if Europe became one country? Imagine waking up one morning to a completely different Europe. France no longer exists. Germany is gone. Italy, Poland, and Spain are no longer separate countries. Every nation in Europe has united into one massive state, one government, one army, one economy, one flag. And if this ever happened, the world would never be the same again. A united Europe could become the most powerful nation in human history, but at the same time, one of the most unstable. So, what would actually happen if all of Europe became a single country, the birth of a superstate? If every European country united into one nation, its population would exceed 700 million people. That's larger than the United States. Its economy could become the biggest in the world. Imagine this: German industry, French nuclear energy, Scandinavian technology, and the financial power of London and Amsterdam, all operating as one giant machine. A new superpower would be born. Europe would control a huge share of global trade, banking, manufacturing, and technology. Its currency could become stronger than the US dollar, and the world's biggest companies would be forced to adapt to Europe's new rules. But the most important thing wouldn't even be the economy. Europe's real power would come from its location. Europe sits between America, Asia, and the Middle East. It controls key shipping routes, ports, transportation corridors, and financial centers. In many ways, Europe could become the center of global politics, and that would completely change the balance of power on Earth. What would happen to the US and China? A united Europe would immediately become a direct competitor to the United States. For the first time in decades, America would no longer be the only dominant Western superpower. Washington would lose part of its influence over the continent, especially if Europe created its own independent military and foreign policy. This could completely reshape NATO. The alliance might even stop existing in its current form. Now, imagine China's reaction. Beijing would suddenly face a new economic giant capable of competing in technology, manufacturing, and global trade. The world could slowly transform into a battle between three superpowers: the United States, China, and a united Europe. Each one competing for control over global markets, artificial intelligence, resources, and influence. In many ways, it could become a new Cold War, Europe's united army. But the biggest changes would happen in the military sphere. Today, European countries have separate armies. But if they united, Europe could create one of the strongest military forces on Earth. French nuclear weapons, German engineering, the Polish military, the British Navy, Swedish defense technology. Combined together, this would create an enormous military machine. A united Europe could dominate airspace, cyberspace, and major sea routes across much of the world. But there's a major problem. Who would control this military? France? Germany? A new federal government? This question alone could create massive political tensions inside Europe. No major country would want to completely lose control over its armed forces, especially when nuclear weapons are involved. And that's not all. Eastern European countries might fear that Western Europe would ignore their security concerns, while Western European nations might fear paying for the defense of the entire continent. Borders disappear. For ordinary people, daily life would change dramatically. Travel would become easier than ever before. People could freely live, work, and study anywhere inside the new country. Moving from Warsaw to Paris could become as easy as moving between cities. Inside the same nation, Europe might even introduce a single digital identity system for all citizens. Businesses would operate faster and more efficiently. Less bureaucracy, fewer trade barriers, shared laws, a unified financial system. All of this could accelerate Europe's economy for decades. But at the same time, a new problem would emerge. migration. Millions of people could move toward the richest regions: Berlin, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and Paris. This would place enormous pressure on housing, transportation, healthcare, and social systems. Property prices could skyrocket. Major cities could become overcrowded. One language, one capital, one government. Now imagine the most difficult question of all. What language would this new country speak? English, French, German, or all of them at once? It may sound like a small issue, but language is deeply connected to national identity. And that could become one of Europe's biggest challenges. The same problem applies to the capital city. Where would the center of power be located? Brussels? Paris? Berlin? Every decision would trigger political conflict. Even today, the European Union struggles to make fast decisions. Inside a fully united Europe, bureaucracy could become even more complicated. Imagine a parliament where dozens of nations with completely different interests are trying to agree on the same laws. Northern Europe wants one thing. Southern Europe wants another. Eastern Europe wants something entirely different. The political system could quickly become chaotic. Europe's internal economic conflict. There's another problem people rarely talk about: money. Wealthier regions like Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands have extremely strong economies. But other parts of Europe are much weaker. Inside a single country, richer regions would effectively support poorer ones. Over time, this could create serious resentment. People would start asking questions like, why are our taxes funding other regions? Why should we pay for someone else's problems? These tensions already exist inside the European Union today. But in a fully united Europe, they could become much more dangerous. Some regions might even demand more autonomy or independence. Catalonia, Scotland, Flanders. Ironically, trying to unite Europe could actually make it more unstable. Could this actually happen? And yet, the idea of a united Europe no longer feels impossible. Many parts of this process are already happening today. A shared currency, open borders, a single market, economic and military cooperation. European countries are slowly becoming more connected every year. And perhaps decades from now, the European Union could evolve into something much larger. But one question still remains. Would hundreds of millions of people be willing to give up part of their national identity in exchange for a single superstate? Because uniting economies is possible. Uniting armies is possible. But uniting nations with thousands of years of history is much more difficult. A united Europe could become the richest, most advanced, and most powerful country on Earth. But at the same time, one of the most complicated states in human history. And that's why the question, what if Europe became one country, might someday stop being science fiction. And if that day ever comes, the world will change forever.